Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Will there be a Real Housewives of Austin? Rumors explained. Almost everyone has heard that things are bigger in Texas. The Lone Star State knows how to put on a show. And when it comes to Bravo, the network is always looking for the next best Real Housewives series. With Dallas on a long pause, could it be they're looking for a reboot in Austin? Let's break down the rumors. Austin is arguably the best Texas city to have its own franchise. It seems that many followers agree with this sentiment. About a year ago, Disney Channel actresses Christy Carlson Romano and Annalise van der Pol discussed openly on their Big Name Bitches podcast their experiences of being interviewed by producers. Both were discussing the potential, but Christy revealed her interview did not go well. The child actor noted that she didn't really want a spot on The Real Housewives of Austin, and followers doubt they will see her on the final cast choice. Over the years, there have been numerous rumors, but a few has stuck. For example, it was once reported that a version of the series was filmed, but that something wild occurred with the socialite, and the tourism board revoked the filming permits in order to protect reputations. There have been a few rumblings on Reddit as well. Names like Susan Dell and Steve Sarkisian's wife, L'Oreal Smith, have been dropped. Susan and her husband, Michael Dell, who is a billionaire with a capital B, own a pricey couture salon and are the perfect symbol for mega money in Austin. However, when it comes to a rumored cast, any local knows that the Dells are all about their privacy. Steve is the football coach at the University of Texas. His wife, L'Oreal, is a stylist known for her game day outfits. Even though nothing has been set in stone when it comes to Bravo, I wouldn't be surprised if the cogs were already ready turning. We've watched them sip champagne in Beverly Hills, throw wine glasses in New Jersey, and shade each other under the blazing Atlanta sun. The Real Housewives franchise has become a pop culture colossus, a surreal blend of high glamour lifestyles, raw emotional drama, and meme-worthy one-liners. But as reality TV continues to evolve, so does the question, what's next? Could the Real Housewives journey stretch beyond the usual zip codes and Botox clinics, maybe even beyond Earth? Let's boldly go where no housewives have gone before. The premise, Real Housewives of the Final Frontier. Imagine it. The Real Housewives of the International Space Station. A cast of 7 elite women, space heiresses, tech billionaires' wives, former astronauts turned influencers, living together aboard a luxury space module orbiting Earth. Zero gravity does not mean zero drama. The women would float through narrow corridors in custom Balenciaga flight suits, hair stubbornly bobbing in anti-gravity halos. Arguments would erupt over stolen serum pouches, misplaced anti-aging injectables, and who last used the zero-G cryo sauna. A casual brunch might spiral into chaos when someone sabotages another's Quimo supply or accidentally deletes the daily messages from Earth. With private space travel becoming more common, courtesy of SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic, a private reality series set in low Earth orbit isn't completely out of the question. NASA may not be eager to lease its modules for a Bravo reunion special, but future private space hotels, already under development, might welcome the PR splash. Filming in space would present unique challenges: camera stability in microgravity, communication delays, and the sheer cost of sending a production crew into orbit. But drones and automated cameras could solve part of that problem. And with billion-dollar reality TV empires behind it, cost might not be a deal-breaker, it could even be part of the plot. Imagine a confession booth floating freely, where the camera locks on as Lisa, floating slightly sideways, dabs her eyes with a gold-threaded tissue and sighs. I just feel like she's not being real with me. Not even up here. If space is still a logistical leap too far, perhaps the Real Housewives could make their digital debut in the metaverse. In this version, Each housewife is reimagined as an avatar in a hyper-glamorous, simulated world. Think of it as Second Life meets Keeping Up with the Kardashians, a VR series where luxury knows no boundaries. Cast members buy and flaunt NFT jewelry, host exclusive virtual galas, and battle for control of exotic VR cities like Glamora or Diamante. Digital drama would still feel real. Arguments could erupt over hacked designer filters, sabotaged AI assistants, or a rival releasing an embarrassing deepfake. With a VR platform, producers could also blur the line between audience and cast. Fans might purchase backstage passes to enter the virtual set, watch confessionals in real time, or even vote on story arcs. It was the year 2047 when Bravo finally launched The Real Housewives of Mars. The promos, broadcast in holographic glitter across every platform from Earth to the Martian orbit, promised everything fans had ever loved about the franchise: glamour, drama, absurd wealth, scandalous shade, and then some. Only this time, it came with gravity boots, oxygen contracts, and Martian mineral rights. But before we get to the red dust and solar-powered sequins, it's worth asking, how did we get here? And more provocatively, will there always be a Real Housewives? At first glance, it seems like a cultural footnote, a reality show launched in the early 2000s that should have come and gone like so many others. Yet, The Real Housewives, from Orange County to Lagos, Dubai to Salt Lake City, persisted, evolved, and embedded itself into the collective psyche. For some, it was a guilty pleasure. For others, a sociological study in female friendship, rivalry, and reinvention. For a few brave souls, it was practically scripture. The housewives became archetypes, not of housewifery, ironically, but of ambition, identity, and the emotional bartering of fame. They were entrepreneurs, wine peddlers, pop singers, and occasionally, federal defendants. Their dinner parties doubled as battlefields. Their taglines, "I'm not a trophy wife, I'm the whole damn prize," echoed through memes, classrooms, and corporate presentations. But as Earth continued to spin and the years peeled away like Botoxed layers, people began to wonder, could this really go on forever? Let's imagine a few scenarios. 1. The Housewives reboot, AI edition. In the late 2030s, facing dwindling casting options and rising insurance premiums. Turns out throwing drinks in stilettos at 58 is dangerous. Producers turned to AI. At first, audiences rejected it. Real Housewives couldn't be bots, no matter how good the cheekbones. But then came VKK, Virtual Intelligence Kinetic Kardashian Interface, coded with algorithms scraped from 40 seasons of reality television. Vicky could throw a red sharper than Phaedra Parks, bake a banana bread mid-confession, and detect passive aggression within 3.2 seconds. Audiences were hooked. They didn't care that the women were code. They cared that they felt real. Drama, after all, is platform agnostic. 2. Housewives in the Metaverse. By 2042, VR fully replaced traditional television. Viewers didn't just watch the housewives, they lived with them. You could have brunch with Tamra Judge, sit courtside at Luan de Lesseps' holographic cabaret, or even get side-eyed in slow motion by a digitalized Neenan Leaks in the frozen food aisle of MetaHole. What started as a show became a subscription-based social ecosystem. BravoCoin, BVC, became legal tender in the metaverse, used for tipping during virtual tantrums and voting on who got invited to cast trips. And for an extra fee, you could even write the confessionals. 3. Housewives goes galactic. Of course, the ultimate frontier came with colonization. The Real Housewives of Mars launched with a bang, literally, as a rival's hover jeep mysteriously exploded during a wine tasting hosted in the Olympus Mons crater. The Martian housewives weren't like the ones back on Earth. They had to manage entire biodomes, negotiate with SpaceX unions, and customize their spacesuits in Chanel's Metallic Luxe line. But the essentials remained: shifting alliances, backstabbing brunches, and the occasional zero-gravity catfight. The tagline, "In low gravity, we still throw shade." 4. The final reunion. And yet, even in its galactic prime, a whisper persisted. Will there ever be a final season? Andy Cohen, now a digitally preserved hologram projected via AI from a recliner in Palm Springs, hosted the last multi-franchise reunion in 2050. It was called Real Housewives. Legacy Eternal. Every living housewife and many digital replicas were invited to an orbital yacht circling Venus. There, they reminisced, rehashed, and reconciled. Or tried to. The arguments continued into infinity. Ramona still interrupted. Kenya still twirled. Teresa still flipped holographic tables. And the audience still couldn't look away. But why do we care? That's the real question. Not just will there be a Real Housewives, but why must there be? The answer may lie in our deep, primal craving for narrative conflict dressed in Louboutins, for the juxtaposition of wealth and chaos, glamour and rawness. The housewives serve as Greek myths in Gussie, modern Medeas and Medusas swiping at each other over mimosas. They are flawed, fierce, and ferociously human, even when they're not technically human anymore. They offer something no algorithm can replace, a warped reflection of our cultural obsessions, status, loyalty, reinvention. They show us what happens when women are handed both too much power and too little guidance. They reveal the architecture of envy, the currency of beauty, and the politics of apology.